What's up, everybody? I'm Israel. Brian here. Real treat for you guys today here at Metal Swap Talk. We have the band, legendary Joey Vera from Armored Saint, man. Joey, thanks for hanging out with us today. How you
Thanks,
doing?
Joey. I'm good, doing good. How are you guys doing? Thanks for having me.
Yeah, man, it's a pleasure. So the reason we're
Cool.
talking, you guys have a lot of stuff coming up, especially a big tour with Queensryche, man, U.S. tour.
Yeah, a long one.
Yeah,
It's
long one.
almost,
Yeah, it's like
yeah, it's like 7 weeks, a little over 7 weeks, which is, to be honest with you, this might be the longest one we've ever done, like ever in our history. Like normally, maybe eight would be, no, like eight would be like unheard of for us. So
right.
this is like, it's normally like for us 4 to maybe 6 weeks max. So this is long.
Yeah, you
Yeah.
guys. It sounds like you guys are ready to go if you're taking that long of a time. Have you toured with Queensryche before, or is this the first time with those guys?
We did a tour with them. We played with them in Europe. Did like a short tour with them in Europe back in 15. Um, and uh, and then after that, we did another tour with them in the US in 16. And that was a lot longer. It was probably three, 3 or 4 weeks. And super cool guys. I've known them for quite a while. I've known them since the late '80s, but we didn't get to tour until, like I said, these in the 2000s here. But super cool guys. I've known them forever. I consider them just my good friends.
Cool.
I've also toured with them with Fate's Warning. So not only a couple tours with Saint, but I've also toured with them in Fates. And so I've been on the road with them for a long time and just amazing people, super cool friends, and yeah, it's gonna be fun.
That's awesome. That's awesome, and it's great.
Yeah,
It's you got to have a really good rapport to be with a bunch of guys that long of a time, right?
exactly. Like it makes a big difference when like the people that you're traveling with. It makes such a big difference. So it's a blessing to be able to tour with friends, like
Yeah.
it just is. I mean, I know a lot of bands and stuff, but it's not that often that you get to tour with people that are this close to each other. So it's cool.
Yeah. You guys did the Monsters of Rock cruise just I guess a couple weeks ago. How
Yep.
did that come along?
It was awesome. We left Miami, it was like a Saturday, a week ago Saturday. So, um, and the show was we got to play the first day that we left, and the show was awesome because I think everyone was like newly on the boat, so they were super excited and keyed up, let's party. We played at like 6:30 in the evening. We packed this small little theater on the boat, and the show was killer. It was really good. And then, the rest of the trip was cool. We got to see a lot of cool bands and a lot of idols. I got to see Pat Travers and Glenn Hughes. Both those guys blew my mind. And a lot of cool other. This Queensryche was on too, so I got to see them. They were great as always, and a lot of cool other things. A lot of other bands were on the boat, and it was just a cool hang. The only bummer was that we were playing on the last night when the boat was coming back to Miami, and we were scheduled to play outside on the pool stage, which is a really big area with the pool. And it was gonna normally it's a great gig. Of course, this storm came through, so it started raining first, and next thing you know, the lightning came out. So they shut it all down. Once the lightning comes, it's like, nah, I can't take a chance on that. So it got canceled, and we tried to move it to another venue, but it was just too late. So that was a little bit of a bummer. So, but we got to play one great show, and that was a win.
Joey, the last album, Punching the Sky, came out in 2020. We kind of know
Yeah.
how that year went. Uh,
hmm
so is this tour kind of to still push that album?
Yeah, sure. I mean, we did the tour with Wasp in 21, But this, we kind of feel like Punching the Sky is still our new record. So we lost a year. We lost the whole year, basically, as most of us did. So this is still considered our new record. And so we're pulling some songs that we didn't play on the Wasp tour from that record. So we still want to play songs from the new record. We didn't really get a big chance to do that. So yeah, so this is kind of you're still waving that flag, like we still have a new record. It's called Punching the Sky, and we're still excited about it. We think the songs are great on it. So we're pulling out some songs from that for this tour as well. And yeah, we're looking forward to it.
So being on the road is not as glamorous as most people think. What's one thing that you found out right away that kind of surprised you when you first went out on the road?
Wow, when I was young, the first thing I just thought was wow was, well, I mean, to be honest with you, I was excited. Most of the negativity doesn't phase you when it's the first time because it's all new. Our first tour we were in rental cars because we couldn't afford a bus, and we were on an arena tour. We opened for Quiet Riot and Whitesnake, 1984, and it started on the East Coast. So we flew out there, and then we got two rental cars and we had like a Ryder truck that our gear went in. So the band broke up into two rental cars, and we drove basically around most of the United States in rental cars and just get like cheap hotels. So it was actually like I could never imagine doing that now. But at the time it was all brand new. It was like, oh my God, this is cool. We're on the road. Who's driving? You drive. I drove the last 8 hours. You drive next. Like it didn't matter. But I think the first thing that you realize is the hardest thing is probably just getting rest, and you want to be able to perform at your optimum level every night. And at first it's like it's a big party, so you don't care about getting rest. Well, for one thing, you're young and you can bounce back like nothing, so once that starts to wear off, though, you're like, maybe I should get some sleep. Maybe I should drink some more water. So, you start to pick up on things like that. But that's probably the hardest thing is learning how to manage your rest. Sure.
So this tour is about, I looked at the schedule, it's about almost 3 months, which is a long tour.
Yeah.
Beyond that, and I know you have some festival stops this summer.
Yeah.
Does the band have any plans outside of that coming up later this year?
For touring things, no. This is going to be a long tour. Like I said, it's one of the longest things we've done. But and then you're right, we are going to Europe in July, late July through early August. That's 3 weeks. So that's, it's a good amount of time for Europe. And then when we get back in September, we don't have plans to tour per se. So we're in the middle of writing new music for a new record. So we've got, I don't know, 6, 7 songs written at this point, and we need to just continue writing and making demos and keep working on that. So that's the plan, is to just keep the writing process going. We are trying to do some things in other territories that we haven't done before, or haven't done in a while, let's say, like Australia is something we're trying to do before the end of this year, and also Southeast Asia, which we've never actually played. We played Japan once, but we want to go back to Japan, and we want to do some Southeast Asia as well. But those aren't necessarily a priority because, like I said, the priority is more like writing continue the writing and keep working on the record. Hopefully, with any luck, we can have a record out sometime in mid to late 25. But we just got to keep writing for that.
Mhm. Now, Armored Saints one of the, kind of a rare band in the fact that for since the beginning of the band, you basically have kept the core of the members, which I think it's like four of you guys that are still been together throughout the whole time. Um, which is not it's a rarity with most bands nowadays, especially for a
Yeah,
large group like you guys, five of you. Um,
yeah.
how have you managed to do that? I know you guys kind of grew up together. How do you manage that?
I get asked that a lot. Um, no, it's a good question. There's no real magic bullet answer for that. It takes work. I mean, that's for sure. It's a relationship, and like anything, you got to nurture it. I mean, trust me, you're right. We have known each other since John and Gonzo and myself have known each other since the third grade, and so we all live in the same neighborhood. And by the time we got to the seventh grade, we were all best friends, and we've been hanging out since then. And then Phil, we met. Phil's Gonzo's older brother. He's a year older, so he kind of came in around seventh, eighth grade as well. But you know, there's that lineage, I think, that keeps it together. It keeps you tied, let's say, for better or worse. uh, it keeps you tied. There's a thread that goes way back, and we always have that to hold on to. It's kind of the lifeline, I guess. Um, and you have to treat it like a family, like family members. Not easy. If anybody knows anything about doing business with anybody is hard, let alone family members. So, and we're not blood family, but we might as well be at this point. So it's very hard sometimes. So you just have to kind of respect that Armored Saint is bigger than any one of us. And if you treat it that way, you can come at it with this perspective that, what matters more is the big picture rather than these little myopic problems that maybe people encounter along the way, or struggles or hurdles you go through. So that's kind of how we have to deal with it, And I think that we have been able to do that. Excuse me. We've been able to do that over the years, maybe sort of unknowingly, because I don't know. Yeah, it's a strange thing. This isn't something we calculated, It's just the way that it ended up, and we've always had a reverence for the fact that we have the same members. Jeff came in during the time Dave was still alive, so Jeff is part of that family because Jeff played in the band with Dave before he passed away. So he's also part of that lineage. So it would suck for us to one day, Armored Saint, if it would ever to become like, John Bush and four other guys,
Mhm.
it would, John would never do that, and I would never do that, and none of the other guys would ever do that. Um, it would just diminish everything that we've stood for since day one, and everybody would know it. It would just be this ugly elephant in the room, and it would be obvious, and it would just ruin so much of the integrity that I think that we've stood for since day one.
Uh, a lot of you guys in Armored Saint have and continue to play in other bands. Do you kind of think that gives you an outlet away from Armored Saint that's kind of helped keep you guys together?
Well, I can only speak for myself. For me, it has. I mean, for me, it's given me an opportunity on many, it's given an opportunity on many levels to become a better musician, band member, bass player, songwriter, all those things, and person, I think, in the end. I just, for me, I've once I got my sort of my taste of working with friends at first, other friends, and then other musicians that I respected, or other bands, or you know, even if it was just recording a few songs with, let's say, a Lizzie Borden album, who were friends of mine. Just being in that situation was really eye-opening to me as far as um, interactions with other people and how I viewed myself as a player. So I thrived on it. It was it's like a drug I couldn't get enough of. So any chance I get, um, working with people that I like and are friends with or respect, I jump at it, because I see it as a learning opportunity for me. And I think that whatever I gain outside of the band, I can come back to Armored Saint in particular to try to answer your question in a roundabout way. I can come back to Armored Saint with a fresh outlook, fresh ears, a new perspective on something. I'm a better songwriter. I'm a better bass player in the room. I'm a better band member. I'm a better person. I'm a better team player. It's all about team playing, I think, being in a band. And I don't think you really know or learn how to be a good team player unless you are work with different team members. Every experience is completely different. People have different personalities, and things are run so differently. Every league of in bands, a league of musicians that you can imagine, they're all so different. So I always encourage people. Like people ask me sometimes, what do you what do you advise to, um, upcoming new bass players, what do you advise them to do? And my first thing is always like, go out and play with different people. Like that's the first thing you should do. I just think it's really, really important for anybody. So yeah, I mean, I thrive on doing that. And, look, being physically in other bands is a whole other chapter, and it's a has a whole set of difficult problems that are unrelated to being an Armored Saint. But it's hard to manage being in different bands these days. And wasn't always like that in the very, very beginning. It was sort of more like, I play in one band and I can play on somebody's record, but I can't be in that band, and you had to be sort of like one, you can only be in one band. But nowadays it's pretty widely accepted that people are in multiple bands. I'm not saying it's easy though. It's pretty damn hard to make it work.
Yeah, I would imagine, especially with the different styles of working, like some bands are very democratic where everybody kind of works towards the same end and everybody has a say. And you have other bands where there's one person that kind of says, this is the way it's going to go. And that's it. It's not, there's no democracy here. So it kind of teaches you that sort of a different environment, I would say, which I guess sometimes makes you appreciate what you have at home as well.
That's exactly right. That's very true what you say. And and Armored Saint, that's all I knew was the democracy. That's all I knew for the longest time, And one thing I learned about that was, let's say, as an example, I joined Fate's Warning, and it wasn't really a democracy there. And it's not to say that there's no negative connotation towards that, by the way. I just mean that there was one person who has a vision, and you have to learn to be a cog in the wheel, do your part in order to make that vision happen. There's great power in being that cog in the wheel. So you have to accept that, and you leave your ego at the door, you do all that stuff because you need to understand what the important thing is here. So that's a very big learning experience you can get by being in a situation like that. So, I gained a whole bunch of respect in my first 6 months of being with Fate's Warning, just for that fact alone. So yeah, appreciate it when I come back to an Armored Saint situation. And, over the years, our dynamic has changed slightly within the group, because, we're all different people now and we have different experiences, and our personalities are pretty much the same, but our experiences are different, and we all bring something a little different to the band now than we were when we were just the same kids, playing arcade games when we're 19 years old. So it's a little different dynamic now, but yeah, you're absolutely right about that.
Everything else?
Well, Joey, thank you so much for hanging with us here. The tour is with Queensryche Armored Saints. It starts woo, March 27th through May 21st all across the U.S. Check armoredsaint.com, queensryche.com, all their socials. Joey, thanks so much for hanging with us today, and good luck out there on the road. I'll be seeing you at Wacken this summer, so have a great one.
Cool.
And
all right.
For Brian Israel, that was Joey.
Awesome. Thank you very much. Thanks for having me. See you guys.
Thanks, Joey.
Thank you, Joey.
See ya.
See ya.